And welcome back, guys, to the grand finals here of the Nordic Championships for Starcraft 2. Here I am with my boys awake, and we are repping our guys on the stage.
Yeah, I'm the traitor this time. I'm going to stand up for Norway.
We made some predictions, boys, and I said 3-1 Zanster. He said 3-2 Snute. So here I am. I have the one true flag, flying the true colors of this proud nation, where we are holding these finals. Regardless, though, it is a competition of the best player. And, you know, there's no sort of saying that.
Yeah, well, I did say Snute's going to win, but as you said, you know, it's all going to be down to this series. Right now, we are getting ready for our first map, of course, which is going to be on Gettysburg once again. Yeah. But I just want to say, before getting into all the nitty-gritty details, it's going to be so cool to see the finals of the very first Nordic Championship, because we spoke about it before, but this is basically the evolution of esport SM, which has been around for years now, and it's basically a cornerstone to the esport here in Sweden. It's really carried a lot. Many world champions in different esports has come from esport SM, and now it's brought to all the Nordic countries.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, just talking a little bit about the history back on these players, now I want to focus specifically on Zanster, you know, because esport SM sort of goes hand in hand with that guy, him and sort of. But this is the same kid who managed to get himself into the quarterfinals, or sorry, the semi-finals of the WCS finals versus Mana and Lilba, where he did so well, really impressive. Oh, yeah. On CSGO, we had the guys from Fnatic and NIP, you know, who are now like playing on the world-class stage in that. So, as you say, this expansion of Swedish esports, of international esports, a step into Scandinavia and all of the other Nordic countries, it's just so exciting, man. Like, I'm super hyped about this.
Yeah, I didn't know Scandinavia was a Nordic country, but yes, I agree with you though. It's really cool to see, and now we're here at the very first finals. This is the kickoff season, as many have pointed out, and basically there we have them next to each other. We have the Swedish and the Norwegian fans going to see if it's going to be Zanster or Snute, because these are the monsters of the North, basically. We have Zanster, you know, the younger player who was doing so well. His potential is off the roof, really. We've seen him in some tournaments, these premier tournaments. He just goes way further than anyone expected.
I think that, you know, to slow things down a little bit, however, because now we've had the chance to talk to both Zanster and Snute, and both these guys are sort of on the same level of terms of like, yeah, you know, we respect each other equally, and you know, they don't think there's too much of a discrepancy between the individual skill between one another. And I think this is a really big thing to sort of take into consideration, you know, talking about this series and how the development of how it's going to go. Because if you have the dynamic of a guy who's like, nah, I don't respect my opponent, and then that's when you can see some very reckless play, you can see some sort of, you know, way to try to perhaps get under your opponent's skin. But when you are in this sort of situation where there is a ton of respect for your opponent, maybe we're not going to see those sort of like ballsy builds. There are, of course, risks will be taken, but I don't think there's going to be anything that's blatantly there to attempt to tilt your opponent in that sense, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's like you're mule dropping, you know?
Well, it's difficult in CVZ as well.
Yeah, but if these guys were Terrans, they would never mule drop one another.
You say so, but then again, we know about Zanster. He can be cheeky. He did, though, kind of cheekily say, with a bit of a hint as well, he has some aces saved up his sleeve. Yes. And when he says that, my mind goes to, you know, 12 pool, hidden spine crawler. We're talking about early game speeding Bane. We have early game Bane. We have all these crazy builds you can go for. And I want to see at least one of those in this finals, because I'm the kind of guy who says, I want to see the macros EVZ. I want to see these players play to their optimal potential, but I also want to see some cheeky games.
Yeah, but so you're still holding on to that 3-2 Snute?
I think 3-2 Snute.
Yeah, well, man, you know, I've got the flag. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, well, my flag's gone now. Yeah, you picked yours back.
Yeah, it's gone with the hopes. No, so like all jokes aside, guys, it's really exciting to have these two players in the finals of our first Nordic Championship. And like Alex said, this is the kickoff, guys. This is only the start. This is a stepping stone into the expansion. That is the, you know, wild beyond. The unknown.
Definitely. And huge shouts, of course, to Metro and Viafree for making this possible. Our two main sponsors, of course. So really big shout outs. And it's so great to see that we have such a high tier finals as well. Because we got to say, even not just saying, oh, here we are, Swedish flags all over the place.
Like I see more Swede flags than Norwegian flags. So, you know, no bias, but...
no bias, but... But I want to say, this is probably also something we could see in a Premier event.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Playoffs.
No, absolutely, Alex. You're spot on with that. Like, I want to say that throughout these seasons of eSport SM as well, we've been blessed with some amazing games. Like, a sort of a Zanster again, like a classic matchup here in Sweden. And that's something that we've seen so many times. And that is also, just like you say, another Premier Tournament playoffs kind of matchup.
Yeah. And this is also a matchup where it's easy to say in regional tournaments or championships like we have right now, which is based off the Nordic countries, that people say, oh, you know, this player is good for being from this country.
Yeah,
or, you know, this is the best Danish player or the best Swedish player. Basically, Snute is the best player outside of Korea almost. And
he's one of them, definitely.
Yeah, and then you have Zanster, who's also one of the best players. And then you have Cyril, who's also one of the best players. And Little Cannon, who's really, really showing amazing skill in this game.
Hey, buddy, we see you.
We see you as well. I'm joking. All 4 players, he's so great coming out here.
You know, I feel so bad for him because you're here now, just like,
I'm kidding,
throwing shots all over the place.
No,
man. You're gonna have to buy Little Canyon more than a couple of drinks, you know, to make up for this.
I'm so sorry for that. But hey, to be honest, all 4 players, Premier tier players coming out here, just showing amazing games. And right now, of course, we're looking forward to the first map in his best out of 5. Because it is going to be best out of 5. I wish it could be best out of 13 if at all possible. But we can't just be here all day.
Yeah, that'll take a while.
You know, and we have more sports to look forward to as well. You know, we have Hearthstone, we have CSGO. And I mean, as we're coming in here, it's going to be best of 5. We have our first map being New Gettysburg. Let's talk a bit about the vetoes as well, because they did have 1 veto each.
Yeah, okay, so starting things off, Snute was the man who got the first veto. Dasan Station. That is like clearly one of these most vetoed maps still. It did have a little bit of an influx of where we saw it pop up here and there. Not only inside the Korean tournaments, but also in BlizzCon. But now here, after that, Frozen Temple veto from Zanster, interestingly enough. Not vetoed in the previous series where he showed off against Cyril. That turned into a really back and forth game where we saw that Hydra Tech not really working out in Zanster's favor. He gave it a try, but then New Gettysburg, Galactic Process, Frost, Apotheosis, and King Sejong Station should we go to game number 5. But yeah, New Gettysburg, again, like you've got this ramp, so getting information isn't that hard in terms of if you just commit some units across the map. But on the very first encounter that we had here on that ZVZ, on New Gettysburg, we didn't see all too much of that. Cyril was quite a lot in the dark, and Zanster caught him off guard with that Ling Flood.
Yeah, Zanster also said before that it wasn't that it stopped working, because it did work two games in a row, going for that Ling Flood, but what it did say, he didn't want to be predictable.
Yeah.
And to be honest, now that Snute has been watching every single game, he's been sitting in this audience and been looking at every single game in depth.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows everything that Zanster has been doing this tournament. So the question now becomes, can Zanster do the same build that we did see against Cyril? Because it was such a strong build, but Snute now knows exactly what to scout for. He knows exactly the timings.
I guess the one thing that I want to mention about that sort of the whole mindset thing of like you have some information, at some points that can actually backfire and work against you, where you sort of overread into the game. You know, like you see, like, oh, he's delayed his gas a little bit. I stop looking for the lings and I stop panicking and I make some preemptive lings of my own, and then all of a sudden, bam, there's a third base and he's got 12 more drones. You know, like those are also things that you have to keep in mind. And I'd say especially so for ZVZ. But let's see. For this first map, New Gettysburg, we are loading in right now, guys. So come on, get your flags ready.
Yeah. If you need more flags, by the way, you can find them next to the broadcasting lights right here at the platform.
Yeah, we have like a flag guy, but
we have a flag guy.
Yeah. So please, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for this guy. He is our first player in the grand finals of the Nordic Championship. It is going to be the Swede. It is Zanster. And his opponent on the other side in the red, hailing from Norway, considered one of the giants here in the foreign scene. It is going to be none other than Team Liquid's Snute.
Pretty even here in the fans department, gotta say. I'm really happy. So many could show up as well and cheer for their favorite player. Now, of course, we are here on New Gettysburg, and as we said, it's a map where things are really close. You do have this kind of bridge that is not really used later in the game as much when you reach those roaches, but earlier when you have those speedlings, it means this map is actually really short distance. Almost, we're talking steps of war distance right now.
What is that one called? Ulrena, right?
Yes, Ulrena,
That's the one. It's like similar when that came along. But so, yeah, for this one, we are in the finals. Zanster's going to start things off with, what was that, like a pool? Did he gas pool?
Which one, Snute?
Oh, never mind. That was just talking about
Zanster?
Yeah. So
yeah, he went for the pool, then the hatch, then the gas.
So both of these guys, you know, they're playing it very safe, especially Zanster.
Yeah, Snute went for the hatch first, but that's okay, of course very standard as well.
Yes, when people see hatch first, I remember this like back in the day, because you'd see hatch first in ZVZ and people would start panicking. It's like, oh no, this is super greedy, he's gonna die. But you know, as the meta game sort of settled down, then evidently that wasn't the case because people learned how to deflect light attacks.
Yeah, or cheeses as we call them in ZVZ. But right now, Zanster is bringing out another drone quite early here in the game. Is he looking for that third base, or is he just... Yeah, he is. And it's before Snute can reach with his Overlord. This is a very deliberate timing, so Snute has no idea this is going on. Zanster with a really quick third base. Now it's up to Snute. Zanster's made his choice on how he wants to start this series off. But it's up to Snute to know what's going on and up to punish this. Snute right now is making 6 links, 8 links. That's a lot for just being in the beginning of the game. Is he going to rally those straight for the third base? I mean, that would be devastating for Zanster.
Does he have the... Yeah, okay, so he's going to have speed to work with, as well as that Baneling nest. And as you say, Alex, without a Baneling nest of his own, it is going to be so hard to hold on to. Like, even so, with the delayed speed, once that kicks in, it is going to even the playing field a little bit, but it's all about those Banelings. Both of our players are continuously mining gas. Zanster's only leaving 2 guys in that gas geyser in the main base, whereas Snute, he's actually going to be hiding his Zerglings and even position the Queens on the ramp for ultimate secrecy. This is like the X-Files right now, man. Zanster is going to have 0 information. He's completely in the dark, and right now, unless his radar starts going off, then this third base is going to be very difficult to defend. And here we go. The big reveal has happened. That's a decent number of Zerglings to see.
It's a decent number indeed. 16 Zerglings coming out right now, and Zanster was making a few his own. Maybe going to be able to save him here. He was making 14 more. He had a lot of lava to spend as his index just finished up. Is it in time though? Snute right now making his first few banings, 4 on the way, and now Zanster starts his own. He's not too far behind in terms of baning timing. Can Snute make anything happen from this?
Now, this is the question. The Zerglings chopping away at the third base a little bit, but still biding their time. No one really committing heavily, but here we go. Snute with a full Baneling advantage. He's going to go right up there. Good connection initially, and the trade-off, all the Banelings are gone, and Zanster still maintains some of his Zerglings to fight off the initial wave there of his opponent. Even though 1 Queen went down, he's still holding on. Bear in mind, the third base is still up and operational, and drones are on the way here for Snute. So this is basically the pressure deflected. And Zanster now making units of his own. 14 Zerglings on the way. With this extra hatchery, he is actually in a very comfortable position right now.
Yeah, he's making even more. He's just spamming these Zerglings out, as we now see Snute getting his third base much later than Zanster, of course. Zanster slightly behind in drones, but it doesn't matter all too much.
Oh, can he catch these Queens?
Even saving his Overlord and trying to catch these Queens, so doesn't get the Queens, but does save his Overlords. That's still a nice little save, but look at the south position here. Right now, those Banelings trying to zone out the links. A bit too late, though, and now Zanster comes in, trying to get the wraparound on those Queens, forces a transfusion. Is it enough for Snute? He's spreading out these Banelings, making sure he can get those big connections, and Zanster right now heading for the natural base.
There are no Banelings defensively here for Snute. He's forced to evacuate that drone line. So many of these drones stacked up, 1 connection, but it's not going to be the end of the world. There's 6, 8 drones falling. Pretty good start here for Zanster, as there we go. That's the cleanup, but the economical damage has been done. Zanster now going into the transition. He's going into the Roach Tech. He's got a 10 drone advantage, as well as that third base hatchery operational, as Snute is finally going to be finishing up.
Yeah, look at that income difference. It's so insane. Zanster right now is mining from 3 bases. He's 11 workers up against his opponent. Earlier, Roach Warren, and just slightly behind in links. I mean, he's in a really good position against the Norwegian right now. But Snute looking for the counterattack, looking to maybe get a Queen, and he's keeping the tempo up. This is so important to note, that Snute will not let the tempo really drop down if he's behind. He's going to make sure that finally Zanster might be able to make a mistake.
Yeah, but it's interesting the way you put it, Alex, because it is very true. You know, like if you're behind and things slow down, you're going to be further and further behind, because you need to be the one to make something happen. Because now, as Snute has been shifting gears a little bit, Zanster still holds on very comfortably. He starts the lair, so he's is further taking up a little bit here, spending some of his resources into that. In terms of army supply, Snute still has an advantage, but Zanster, I mean, as you say, he doesn't want the tempo to shift all too much in Snute's favor, so he's going to go for some counter pressure. He also lets the Queen going to start taking down some of these drones. And again, we talked about this, the Queens are so key in ZVZ. Great Baneling connection there for Snute, but the Queen did go down in the third base, and this further hampers any macro capabilities for the Norwegian Zerg.
Definitely, and Snute there, he was making a lot of roaches, but they came out just a few moments late. Every second counts in a game of Starcraft, and right now, you see Zanster with 16 drones ahead, but he's behind in terms of army, and he has to make sure he can get those roaches up, because right now Snute is getting aggressive, and look at this. Well, Zanster has started a few roaches of his own. No Ravagers yet, though, as Snute. He's just massing links behind these roaches and Ravagers. So basically, Snute is saying, I'm going for this attack. I'm going to attack you with a few Ravagers, these roaches, and then a big link flood to follow it up so I can really quickly reinforce my position. But is it enough?
The question is, can Snute Spearhead penetrate the frontline barrier here of Zanster's forces? That is the big question. If they can manage penetration, then the Lings flood in and they close up everything else, just wrap around, isolate and kill. As you can see right now, the right-hand flank for Zanster is getting absolutely crushed, whereas the natural expansion still hasn't been breached. The Queen's holding on there as a linchpin dodges that corrosive fire at the last second, because every single unit counts at this point in time. Bear in mind though, the drone advantage is still heavily in Zanster's favor, so the longer this fight goes on without him taking critical damage, the more it's going to favor him. And he's doing such a good job, being so conservative with his forces, now darting forward towards his third base, more units rallying out, and the killing of those Queens earlier really starting to hurt Snute as more links stream across the map. This fight is so close.
Yeah, well, right now, Snute still does have these links, but it's not really enough to deal with these roaches, trying to get the wraparound and get those bios up, but they don't really deal enough damage. Right now, Zanster is just cleaning up the last few units, and remember, there were no more roaches or Ravagers behind this. It was just pure Ling, and as soon as we see some Banelings in this, as we see here, there's no way that Snute can take this engagement anymore. And Zanster holds on, still 12 workers ahead, and he's looking fine.
More than fine, I'd say. He's got the lair advantage, he's got the drone advantage, and everything else has been going his way. He even maintained most of his Queens throughout this, so he's going to continuously be able to inject to macro up. Snute, on the other hand, like, what do you do? Now he's taking his gases, now he starts his lair, but he's going to be so far behind in this tech department that right now, the world is Zanster's oyster.
It really is. Zanster already getting his +1 and his speed, and Snute, he has to find a way to really get back again, because you have to start cutting some corners in one or the other direction. And, well, we're gonna see here, nice connection to start things off here for Zanster. Nice little trap here with the Snute's Lings. Things start to calm down, and exactly as we pointed out before, this is exactly what Snute doesn't want to happen. Both are starting to macroing up, and Snute has kind of caught up in terms of drones, but now Zanster's going to be the one to do exactly what Cyril did before. He's going to get the Spire.
And this again is the advantage that he gets hand in hand with having the much quicker lair. 23 roaches on the field here for Zanster, so defensively as well, I think he's very comfortable. It's going to be hard for Snute to break him, but goes for the isolation on the Queen, going to take her down. That's going to further slow down the macro for Zanster a little bit. Perhaps can find himself a drone or two, but most of these Lings ends up getting cleaned up for a single Queen, and I don't think it's worth it at this point to make such a trade, because it's extremely lava inefficient. However, he has bought himself a little bit of time and leeway into this now, as he starts the tech, going into that infestation bit.
Interesting choice here, deciding not to just stick with the Roach Ravager, he decides not to go into Roach Hydra, decides to go into Roach Infestation Pit, which is of course going to be in the Infestors, but the question is if it's going to be in time, because, I mean, he's going for his own tech unit, but the mutants are going to be out in before then, and you're not really going to be able to counter the muters with just pure Infestors. I mean, no. Corrosive bars are nice, but you've got to be having some insane timing if you're going to land those and then bile on top of everything.
It's, I think it's, not only is it that, but it's just extremely hard, to combo that effectively.
Yeah.
And then you're like, let's say you whiff a couple of those fungal growths, and all of a sudden you're out of energy. That's just like dead supply on the ground. Whereas Zanster's army here, he's got a very potent ground force, and he's also going to have the air support to him. So this is going to mean, through the use of combined arms, Zanster is going to be in a phenomenal position here, as long as he just doesn't overextend. Because remember, he is on Snute's side of creep. This is his domain right now, and Zanster needs to be treading very lightly.
Zanster has been having the +1 for quite some time now. Now Snute is going to catch up on this a bit at least, for some time at least, until the +2 finishes up. So the roaches of Zanster won't be stronger than his opponents anymore, but he's still staying on top of all this tech, and now as the mutants are coming out, he's going to have a very easy time to start picking off units off of Snute. And Snute still doesn't really have a clue about these mutas. He hasn't added too much at home and no sport orders. And I mean, although he's adding Infestors, I don't think he's going to be able to counter these at all. As long as you spread out the Zanster, there's nothing to shoot up at you.
Oh, this is going to be so tough for Snute to do. They're already starting to lose some of those overlords. He is going to be supply blocked for quite some time. Zanster, you know, capitalizing on the advantage perhaps. Oh, goes for the Infestor, gets fungal growth, but that's not going to matter. He has nothing to follow that up with. Oh, you can actually go for that queen. There we go. Is going to be finishing that job, but he starts working away at this mineral line before the Spore Crawler even finishes up. And there's that supply block, man. Look at how much that hurts Snute. He couldn't make any more Infestors. So now he's only got 1 or 2 on the field available to him, whereas the third base completely void of any defense. Here we go. He's going to shift back in, and he's going to be able to actually push Zanster out. But that was a very tense moment for both of these players, as still the skirmish is going on, and the Mutalisk coming to the backline, target firing on these Ravagers. Such great control here from Zanster, strategical genius, as he's going to be continuously pushing on towards his third base. The army, though, for Snute is going to be able to overpower him for now with that defender's advantage.
Yeah, well, he's doing a really good job with these queens, because usually you'd say that although fungals are nice and everything, it doesn't really work because there's nothing to shoot up. So as long as you spread out, you're fine. But with this, as I say, defender's advantage, we have the defensive queens, and they're actually doing a pretty good job against the mutas. Had we seen the queens killed off earlier, perhaps, then we would have seen the mutas constantly just dealing damage on top of this army. Now, the Spore Crawlers also, of course, really help out here. Getting those up in time was crucial for this hold. But now we see Zanster going into the lurk den right away. He's just skipping the in-between step with the normal Hydras. He's just going straight for the lurkers.
And right now, Zanster with a significant advantage in game number 1 here on New Gettysburg in the grand finals. He's 1 base up, and he's maxed out. Snute, a 170 supply, and he's actually stuck at that. He's even got the lower drone count. As you can see, they are dead even in army supply. Oh, well, these fungals, they are going to be very key. Gets right on top of the army here with a great flanking move. No fungal growth going down. I don't even think he had the energy for them. And he's going to close the gap, get right on top of him. There's a fungal. That's a good catch, together with that combo of Corrosive Vile, but the Concave favoring Zanster, as he is able to clean up a lot of these roaches as well as the backlines. However, again, defender's advantage coming greatly into play here for Snute. But if you look at the supply, he's always going to be finding himself at a 20-30 deficit. And I mean, it's really starting to show.
It is, and we have to realize as well right now that Zanster's got a 4th base he's mining from. He's getting his 5th right now, and Snute's stuck on 3. He's already oversaturating his 3rd base, as his main is completely mining dry. His natural soon enough is going to be completely dry, and he needs to look for that 4th, but he can't break out of his own base. Zanster is ahead in workers, he's vastly ahead in army, and he's just looking to close this out. Snute's kind of going for the Hail Mary play here of just adding a massive amount of mutas, but yeah, it doesn't really have a big bang to work off. So just surviving is going to be difficult enough, but even if he managed to get some mutas out, there's still a Hydralisk den, or rather now a Lurker den, that can make Hydras, or you have a Spire as well for Zanster to counter this.
That's what I was thinking about, right? Like, going for a Spire at this point in time, it is, to me, just a big move of desperation, because you make, like, what is it? Because you don't have the gas to work with, really, so you squeeze out between 5 and 8 mutas, and then Zanster's like, well, you know, I've got 4 base economy, so he goes and makes like 20. But none of these guys really have a big impressive gas bank, but the Spire is going to be finishing up shortly here for Snute, so we'll see like how much that is actually going to affect the outcome of this game, because he is, you know, it's 166 applied to maxed out Zanster yet again, and this time he does have this Lurker support, and these guys are going to be so difficult to deal with.
They are, and here we go, because now we start to see the siege here, and he's getting between the bases.
Oh,
this is a perfect position. Oh my God,
brilliant
if he gets up to that natural, he can actually force this army, and look at this. He can stop moving up towards the natural with a few roaches, and he's completely zoned out. There's no way for Snute to break through this. He needs to get those biles on top of the lurkers, but how is he going to? He's splitting up his army. Meanwhile, Zanster's just wreaking havoc in the natural. Here we go, trying to get an attack going once again, but those lurkers just dealing so much damage.
Oh my God, they're just shredding through everything. Snute plummeting in supply down to an 88. 1-2 Mutalisk there just for the end of it, but that's not going to be enough, and GG, Zanster takes game number 1.
Very nice game to start things off here on New Gettysburg. And, well, Zanster getting the first game. It looks like you might be onto something here about that prediction, Tennessee. Gotta say though, both players really impressive mid-game here, coming out, such aggression from both sides. And I like the fact that Snute never really calmed things down in the beginning. Now, eventually, you know, the attack that looked so promising after Zanster managed to hold that. Then Zanster started to really push Snute back. And then when things start to calm down, as we spoke about, Zanster just gets a big advantage and starts building on that, because everything builds exponentially here in Starcraft.
Yeah, exactly. I think even more so in ZVZ, you know, like when you have with the drone advantage, like how one drone can translate into like 3 extra units of some sort, really decisive. But we are going to take a look at a little bit about some of the big points in this first map on New Gettysburg, guys. And then, you know, Alex could probably take us through it.
Definitely. So right now we are at the third base here of Snute. And, well, we've got to say, Zanster has such a formidable ground army trying to attack with his mutas. We have to see here, we have defensive queens holding off those mutas, and, of course, the sport cores, so the mutas can't be focusing at the workers. But something really important to note here is that Zanster's almost maxed out, has a big bag, so trading away is not really a big issue for him.
Yeah, I want to point out as well, like the target firing on those Ravages, really key. Because gas is a luxury that you cannot afford at that point in the game.
Yeah.
Like killing one Ravager, that's 100 gas, 100 minerals. So expensive. But anyway, the next map in this best of 5, guys, in the grand finals is going to be Galactic Process. And this one, again, another really small map. Getting across so fast, we saw an explosive game there between Zanster and Cyril as we're leading up into these finals. Are we going to have a repetition of that, perhaps?
Perhaps. We're going to see. I mean, it's so hard to tell what's going to happen between such players as we have right now, Zanster and, of course, Snute. I can't tell what these guys are going to do. I just know that Zanster's crazy enough to tell anything, but as you say, we have Galactic Process come up, and then we're going to have definitely Frost. And if we go further than that, it's going to be Apotheosis and King's Dome Station. And just as Snute talked about Apotheosis, we might once again see a pretty crazy game there because of those early, the possibility of early gold bases.
Yeah,
things tend to get crazy.
Those are so influential in those early Zergling Baneling wars, because that's when it's generally all about 2 things, minerals and lava. The gas, you know, it is a key component to it for the whole machinery to function correctly. But the main focal point is how well you spend those lava. How many minerals can you deduct away from your opponent's composition with each Baneling connection? So we go to that map, then that's probably going to be one of the better games here for this tournament. We'll see. But I already think that, you know, it is going to be a hard thing to trump the ZVZ that we had there on Apotheosis between Cyril and Zanster, because that was like one of the best games so far for this tournament.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to have any breaks. We're going to go straight into the next map between these 2 players. They're just so eager to see how things are going to go. So, without further ado, we have our first player.
Down here in the bottom left, in the blue, representing Sweden, it is going to be none other than Zanster. Up 1 game in this series.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side, playing for Team Liquid as the Red Zerg. It is for Norway, Snute. All right, so Galactic Process, we are here, and so far, so good. Zanster, though, starting with the Extractor first. This is interesting. So maybe going into that kind of early speeding play we saw on Frozen Temple against Cyril.
We even saw it on this one, man.
Yeah, we did, actually.
We did. Cyril went for that 3-hatch before pool. Such a brave man, by the way. So brave.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
Well, what can you say?
I don't even expand versus Zerg anymore, man. I'm too scared. Those Hydralisks.
Yeah.
It's so strong.
Especially when you end up with 1 base against 5 and you're like...
Feels bad, man.
Yeah, why is Zerg so OP?
Story of my life. But, so now, again, just... if there's not going to be any aggression, at least, from any of these guys, very safe way to open, like ridiculously safe, as the hatchery is now going down. Snute, again, going for a bit of a deviation. He does go for that natural expansion before pool. And he is going to actually go right into that 3rd here. Because like you were talking about, you know, it's a little easier to maintain on this one. But again, it's all about containing the floodgates. You have to make sure that your opponent doesn't get the lings up in a good position.
And that's actually a really good point you have. Because I did mention we have 1 wall right here just start to build debris. And we have some rocks also to the left-hand side that gone to 3rd base really well. But we have to also remember why Galactic Process, is such an easy map to defend fairly early game aggression on. Because you have this ramp. it's pretty hard to spread creep right where you need to get a creep tumor out there, which is
very narrow.
Yeah, which isn't the case on for the temple, but here, of course, it's really narrow. So with a few queens or some roaches or anything pretty early in the game, you can defend most things, and that's why it's a bit safer to go for this. And also, it's a pretty decently sized map. So.
Can you even see the madman just bam, skip his first ninja, creep tumor down, builds his like roach warrior in an evolution chamber by the ramp, sort of like a Protoss legs falling off.
I've been that guy many times, I can tell you that.
That's so funny.
But yeah, we are here right now, and both are deciding to go into their third right now. And the difference in timing isn't huge. We're going to see, Snute go for the earlier one. The one difference here is that Snute is going for gasless. That's very important to note. We're not going to be working with speed. We're not going to be working with banelings. We're going to be working with these queens, and it's all up to what I talked about now. Is he going to hold in practice? In theory, it's a good move that Snute's doing. He's going to be holding with queens and lings, but Zanster is going for early speedlings here, and there's, as we said, no gas to work with for Snute defensively.
I don't know how much information he got there with the scouting Zergling. Did he see the saturation in the natural expansion? Because he comes in and doesn't see all too much.
Not enough to really see.
This is actually... Oh, this is so smart from Zanster, because you look at this, he's put all of his drones on one side. I don't know, maybe this is like a decision he's taken, but if that's the case, that's insane. But this, however, is actually going to be slowing things down a little bit for Zanster. It's so annoying to get supply blocked when you're doing this sort of attack, because he's banking up a lot of Zerglings. He stopped mining gas, so, well, that's the wall-off started, and well, this is actually really looking as if this is not going to work for Zanster.
Yeah, because Zanster's putting all his eggs in one basket. Like, this is the literal definition. If you open up a Merriam-Webster dictionary, this is what it says, basically, of putting all your eggs in one basket. He's just massing speedlings on one base here, hiding them away, and then trying for one big attack. Now, it can still work, though, because Snute hasn't yet walled off completely with those queens. So if we do see Zanster get around here somehow unscouted, then it could definitely work. But here we go, Snute now seeing what is going on. He needs to wall off right away, and he needs to add those queens behind, because this Evo chamber can still fall.
Yeah, but, well, we'll see, Alex. As he's now going to commit up 4 queens. There's so many, and he's even pulling some of these drones. 55 queens coming up. It is going to go down eventually. There's not too much surface area to work with, though, as... There we are.
Oh, they get in!
They actually get in, and now they can isolate the queens. The drones are here on the lines as roaches start popping, but more lings are streaming across the map here for Zanster. Is it going to be enough to overwhelm the defense? These drones on hold position. Oh my brilliant move from Snute.
It is brilliant, but is it enough, though? There were 50-something lings, and indeed, the queens are gone. And remember, now we have one roach at a time being killed off here, but lings are kind of dwindling, and it's all about who gets the critical mass first, basically, but I think it's going to be Zanster. He's breaking through. The roaches are dying so quickly. No economic damage done just yet. It's all about Snute closing this gap, but he can't do that as these lings keep blocking him.
Oh my god, Zanster, the madman. He just went for it. Balls to the wall. There were queens, drones being pulled, the full wall. Just more units on the way, and he's forcing the drones off of the mineral line in the main base. Natural has been absolutely ravaged. Drones finally start falling. 10 have gone down. The count in drones has been equalized, and right now Snute, he does have the roaches. He has stabilized a little bit, but more units streaming across the map. He's going to take down the roach warren. Zanster is not done.
He's not done, and right now we only have 8 roaches. Some of them are injured as well. The roach warren is down, and now Zanster just keep on rallying units. He's not making a single drone additionally in this game. And does Snute have any way to defend against this constant aggression? He's trying to get a wall of going once again. He's trying to get these roaches here, and there it is. He's now stopped the incoming flood of lings, but we still have a lot of lings inside the walls, and it's way too much.
Zanster takes game 2 with the... That was an insane... What a thing to do. That's absolutely outrageous. I was talking about, I have respect for you, but that to me is just like, I don't give a damn who you are. My lings are going to kill you. It has been foretold in the prophecy. And Zanster, now 2-0 in this best of 5.
It all came down to that small gap. Had there not been that small gap, but Snute would have held easily.
He had all of the tools. It was just like, the hold from Snute was looking brilliant.
Yeah.
He had the buildings up, he had the queens, he had the transfusions, he brought some lings in, some roaches in, he pulled the drones, hold position. It wasn't enough.
No, and it all requires is that small mistake. And that being said, we do have a replay. So
Yeah,
let's jump right into the replay.
I really want to get into this.
Yeah,
one,
I want to see what we're going to be looking at. And exactly what we talked about. He's breaking down the evolution chamber. And those queens look pretty airtight to me. He even has a drone on the hold position here. But no.
There he is. Yeah, okay. So he gets through, and that's the big thing. The drone falls, and that means that he can get right up in there. And still, guys, as you can see, it's still looking a little dicey. But as the transfusions run out, and the drones start dying on the sidelines as well, remember, he's losing even more mining time in this, so that means he can't use all of his lava that he's been constantly injecting. So it always just sort of falls into place. And it ended up working out perfectly, just like a set of dominoes falling for Snute. And Zanster capitalized on it brilliantly.
Yeah. And he did say he had some aces, so we got to see one of them at least. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a 30-second break between this and the next map. So we're going to be right back with you, and don't go anywhere.
Vad händer efter att man checkat ut från Paradise Hotel?
Hola, guapa. Det kanske finns en chans för dig att få komma tillbaka in i huset igen.
Vad fan är detta? Keep on smiling, onsdagar 22:00 på Viafree.
Jag uppskattar att du hjälper min flickvän. Du kanske ska sätta dig på skotern och åka härifrån.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nordic Championships. We are ready for our third map in this series, this best of 5 between Sweden and Norway. We have Zanster and Snute to represent their countries in this Nordic tournament. And I gotta say, so far it's looking brilliant.
Yeah, man, the games have been absolutely excellent. We started on Gettysburg with a very closely fought macro game where the Swede managed to find that advantage, and he held onto it in his... he wouldn't let go, and then there for game number 2 on Galactic, just, man, like I said, biggest balls I've ever seen. And now here for map number 3, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on Frost, with our first participant spawning in down in the bottom right, hailing from Sweden. It is our representative. Can he make this the clean sweep? Can he take it 3-0 and claim the title of Nordic champion? It is Zanster.
And his opponent in the top left-hand side, playing for Team Liquid as the Red Zerg, it is going to be Snute. Now, I do want to say, if Zanster takes this with a clean sweep, it's going to be pretty funny, because this year's Esport SM had what I call just the Esport SM curse. Not a single series in this Esport SM outside of the qualifiers had anything else but a clean sweep.
Yeah, 2-0, 3-0, it was all the way.
Exactly, all the way to the finals, where both Zanster and Sort of said it's 50-50, and they still went on with a 3-0 win.
Yeah, that's sort of how it's always been. Okay, not always, but in many of their engagements.
Yeah,
might I say.
So maybe Zanster is trying to bring traditions to the bigger stage.
Yeah, he's like inviting them, like, hey guys, we've been doing this for years.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I guess Zanster likes money.
Yeah, I guess so. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, worth one to mention, there is a €5,000 prize pool for Starcraft in this tournament. In total, with all the esports, there's €22,000. Really nice. And of course, the winner takes 3,000, the runner-up 1,000. So this very map could be worth €2,000 for you.
Yeah, dude, this is... Right now, the pressure's on. And honestly, I didn't expect it to be so one-sided. I was thinking that we were going to go into a game that was going to be more dynamic, but we've just seen Zanster with the advantage. And
then I gotta say though, the first game really back and forward still, and the second game was Snute's game to lose.
That was like that was such a weird game to me, okay? Because honestly, the whole thing of where you actually commit, of course you have to commit, but. Yeah. To me, that was sort of I'm setting up my links, and I'm looking at what I'm up against. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, this game is kind of over. So I start preparing myself mentally for the other one. Zanster doesn't do that. He still has the victory in mind. He's like, I can win, regardless of the circumstances surrounding what is currently going on. So he doesn't give a damn, and I think that's actually one of his very blatant strengths.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's a similarity between Snute and Zanster as well, because I looked at so many of Snute's games, and he's exactly the same when it comes to always using every single detail whenever he can. That being said, though, Zanster is trying to be a bit cheeky once again. He's stopped making any workers. He's making 2 banelings aggressively and hidden away. He's made 16 speedlings, 6 more on the way, but we do have quite a few queens here from Snute. It's all about holding once again. Can Snute survive the early game aggression of Zanster? It's all up to this move.
And we've already seen that he is so potent, he's so capable when it comes to this. He's going to be moving banelings right in front and plain sight here of Snute. The Queens hold on to the front lines. They're going to form the backbone of this defense. There is no spy crawler though, and the link numbers are still not there entirely for Zanster. Well, there we are. The banelings are done. Trades some of them. Good focus fire. It's not going to achieve all too much though. Sends it in. Doesn't kill a single drone.
Now, Zanster did drone behind this, so he's not actually that far behind. He's making 4 additional workers. But remember, he did spend a lot of larva and, of course, energy into those lings. And now we're going to see Snute really happy about just getting a 3rd base. He knows he killed a ton of lings in this engagement, so he's fine to do this as he's just going to drone up himself. And this time around, you know, Snute does have an advantage going into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, he's going to go for some counter pressure, perhaps. Oh, no, it does pull back. But yeah, you know, it's in this point in time, I still kind of really like what Zanster keeps doing in this, because what he's saying is, you know, like, if you've made a slip up, if you've cut some corners, I can punish that with this sort of attack, and then going back into the droning. So it's a bit of a half-half measure, and it will hurt you if you're up against this sort of greed that we see about Snute, where he goes straight for the 3rd base. But that's because the brilliance is Snute identifies this. He knew exactly the weakness with what Zanster was doing, and he's capitalizing on it right now. So now Snute with the advantage. We'll see what is Zanster going to do to turn things around, because if we look at the production tab, less soon going to be done here for the Norwegian. He's getting the hatchery up and running. He's got the roach tech coming as well. He's even got the evolution chamber, so he can start +1 whenever he wants.
Indeed, and it's you know, Zanster, he's getting his 3rd right now. He's really far behind in his 3rd timing. And basically, you can divide every single game into, you know, economy, army, and technology. And right now, the way Snute is really far ahead is in terms of technology. That's the way he's planning to try to win this game. He's going to have the earlier upgrade. He's going to try to have everything. And, well, Zanster's got to know how far behind he is. That's, you know, that's something at least.
Okay, so he sees Glad Reconstitution, +1 lair. He knows exactly what's going on. He's seen the full book. And now on this side of things, double evolution chamber. Interesting mechanic, or sorry, interesting idea here to perhaps try to catch up. He's getting carapace upgrades here to make sure that his lings are going to stay effective in the fight. And he's also going to be getting that +1 melee upgrades, perhaps. We'll see as he's adding in more drones. 3rd base going to be secured shortly. But I really want to see what he's going to do now with the 2nd evolution chamber.
There we are, it's going to be melee, so it is going to be a very Zergling-based comp coming out here from Zanster. And of course, it is dangerous, because when we do see that +1 from the roaches, if it ever finishes before the carapace, those lings die so insanely quickly. But something a lot of players who aren't really well-versed in terms of ZVZ know is the fact that roaches, although being a counter to the Zergling, +1 Zerglings against roaches without carapace are amazing.
God. It gets dirty, to say the least. Like, they will shred.
As long as they have surface area, everything just dies.
Yeah, that's like the only thing that we assume here, right? If you get surface area with +1 lings versus anything that doesn't have +1 armor, it is going to die very, very quickly.
Talking about being interesting here, Snute has been making a lot of queens, he's making a lot of roaches, and before these upgrades are going to be done, we're going to have this Nidus in a very interesting position.
What a development.
Indeed, so he's going to load in his queens first, a lot of roaches, and he's going to try to drop it somewhere. I'm not sure if he's going for the 4th or 3rd base, or if he has this one to try to go into the main base right away.
But it's actually really cool to see, because he's timing this right now. Carapace did finish, however, so he's not going to have like as a significant advantage. But are there even any roaches for Zanster? No, he's actually skipped entirely. He went straight into that spy. He's going to try to break down the front lines. But no, sir, there are roaches in the way. And this night, it has been revealed, but he's not going to commit to that just yet. He is trying to buy some time here, because Zanster, I mean, he's going for the spire play. The only thing that he needs now is time.
Yeah, I gotta say though, you have to realize this is not like a one-trick pony kind of thing where you just use all your efforts into Nidus and it doesn't work, oh, you know, crap, I'm really far behind. This is something he can use later as well because it's such a big map. And now trying to get attacks going on its fourth base is going to be difficult because of all these links being so aggressive.
Yeah, and here we go. +1 melee attack has finished up, so these guys are now going to be very lethal. 1-1 lings. And there is a queen in the way. We'll be able to actually stop those lings from entering the natural expansion, but he has been able to at least buffer some time here for that fourth base to potentially finish up, or at least near completion. But of course, that is in its own right a little bit of a risk because, you know, Snute knows it's extremely exposed. But we have so many Zerglings on the map right now, and +2 melee upgrades have begun. The Spire is finished, but I don't think we've seen all too many Mutalisks on the map.
No, we haven't. Now we see the first few coming out, 3 on the way. Snute, though, was getting really aggressive, but you can tell how afraid he is of these counterattacks because he knows the way you lose against this kind of composition is just by those counterattacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the second time he moves back when he could have dealt critical damage. The first time was at that fourth base. This time around, he should be able to try to take an engagement, but we have to realize as well, with a +1, it's such a hard time, even as a Roach player, to take any engagements.
Well, he is going to be getting +1.
He needs to pump up a lot here.
Yeah, he's going to get +2 range attacks as well as the Carapace upgrade running now. Before +2 melee upgrades finished for Zanster's going. Now this is a great catch. Going to get these queens. The transfusion energy is going to be important here. And they will actually be able to stay alive. This is really nice. So many lings are going to be dying for nothing. The banelings connecting with roaches, not the best trades, of course, but with these roaches so clumped up, it forces the lings force them to clump up. But these roaches are just going to shred through the army of Zanster, plummeting in supply. 3 or 4 mutas, they're going to be irrelevant because now there's an opportunity for a ton of ground damage to be dealt. And there's the Nidus to follow up. Now, all of a sudden, we would be talking about defender's advantage perhaps, but that is nullified by this Nidus worm. Brilliant play coming in from Snute, and he is going to be looking to equalize this series.
Definitely, these roaches are finding the fourth base as well. And now those queens are up. How many mutas do we have? 10. It's not really enough to put a dent into the army of Snute here, who has so many queens, and even more importantly, so much energy from transfusions. He's trying to take the fight right here, but Snute, with very good transfusions, has really put Zanster on his back legs.
Drones come back around there from going across half of the right side of the map. But yeah, this should be it. The last units fall, and that's GG. Snute takes home game number 3 and stays alive in this series. We will be going to map 4, that is Apotheosis.
Oh, that's going to be exciting, Tennessee. And well, that was the first point here for our Norwegian player. A very important part, of course, of this series because Zanster is still 1 game away from winning, but now we're getting to Apotheosis, which Snute did say before, it gets pretty crazy in CBZ.
Yeah, those gold bases, man, that's what it's about. Those are also going to be the points of contention. But we'll see now, because the tempo sort of shifted here, because first we saw decisive play from Zanster. It was game 1, game 2, even though game 1 was a little back and forth, as you say, it was just like we always had Zanster with a slight advantage. For this one, he went for the attack, Snute was perfectly prepared, took 0 damage, capitalized like, okay, my advantage is third base, goes for it, and then all of that, he just plays into the upgrades. And even though there was some opportunity for Zanster with the 1-1 links to perhaps find some sort of damage, Snute, I want to say, did a really good job in playing it quite conservative because he knew the dangers of that sort of composition. I think that we might actually even sort of have a game available to jump in and take a look a little bit to sort of deconstruct the situation in this map.
Definitely. So here we are in the final engagement even, almost, where we see Zanster trying to fight against these roaches. But as I was mentioning, as long as you clump them up really well and you have enough of those roaches, even +1 links can't really deal with them. There we are. The Nidus was being used as well aggressively and was very important here because otherwise those mutas might have kept Zanster alive for a few moments. But that being said, we did see Snute break through.
Yeah.
Very important that he did have the Nidus. Every single piece kind of came together there, you know?
No, absolutely.
The Nidus for the queens to attack and those roaches attacked at exactly the right points.
I want to say as well, like, even though the banelings there sort of, I think the idea is a little cute, where I force the roaches of my enemy to clump up so I can use the banelings with the splash damage. It's simply not enough. Because the roaches, at the end of the fight, they were very well upgraded. 2-1 upgrades versus 1-1 lings. Didn't even have the melee upgrade for that fight. So Snute did like a really good timing attack there, which just shredded through everything that Zanster had. But we are going to be going into game number 4. It is going to be Apotheosis.
interesting map. So
Explosive.
yeah, it's very explosive because of those gold bases.
Yeah.
And you know, the first time I started playing this map, I always tried to punish people for going for that gold base. But it's such a common thing now that it's a part of the meta on this very map. And it's one of those maps, you know, every once in a while in the map pool, you do get that one map which does have those close by gold bases.
Sort of reminds me of Habitation Station, which is actually back in the map pool for this one. Anyway, guys, we have our first contestant. It is going to be the red Zerg down in the bottom right, representing Norway. He's tied things up a little closer now. Scoreline is 2-1. Can he make it a 2-2? Bring it to game number 5. It is going to be Snute.
And starting things off, what it looks to be a pretty aggressive opener. The Swede 1 game away from being the champion in this competition. It is, of course, Zanster.
All right, so one of two things here needs to happen. Either this attack has to pay off in dividends, or it is going to fall flat on its face, because Snute, of course, a very solid player. We'll see though, because drone scouting is still quite rare in ZVZ, so this is, of course, this plays into the favor of our Swedish Zerg, because we did see, what is that, gas hatch pool?
Indeed, actually a hatch gas pool.
Hatch gas pool?
Yeah. But so a very standard kind of macro opening for Snute, you know, the greedier version of it, but that's, you know, very standard to see. But now we see Zanster going for this super aggro build with such an early gas, such an early pool, and see how long he skips out on his hatchery. With this kind of build, you really need to deal some serious damage. You're going to have a ton of speedlings early on, and you try not to show your hand until things are too late for your opponent. So now it's about looking where those overlords are, if Snute can find anything, or if Snute just senses that someone like Zanster might just decide to go for something cheeky in this game. Because look how he's rallying his units all around the map to avoid this forward overlord.
This is so important because this is not going to give any forward warning to Snute. Behind this, he also decides to go into that gold base because that is going to be a great way to catch up. You transfer some drones and then you'll be able to use that backbone of an economical boost to perhaps tie things up a little bit if everything doesn't go as planned. But still, Snute has no idea this is coming. Only a few links in production, but still more drones. That is the focal point. Baneling must come down, but he doesn't have the number of queens ready to stop this. Snute has no idea that Zanster is rallying links across the left-hand side. Speed is going to be done in 5 seconds. That is going to be the big reveal. How much can Zanster get done before the timer runs out?
Yeah, there are only 2 links right now. This is deadly. And behind this, Zanster is just making more and more links. Here we go. There's another queen on the way. This is such an important thing. It's all about the micro here. Nice blocking by Snute, but he's going to lose his first queen. There's still enough links to kind of contest this first queen, but the rally's still far away. Snute is held for
micro.
now.
Going for the focus fire on those individual links because he knows the DPS for them is a little higher than the drones. He's killed 6 workers already. Remember, Zanster is still behind in terms of drones. And with the Baneling Nest finishing up, as well as speed, Snute stabilizes and he holds on. But that was looking a little scary for a moment.
It was. Now, Snute made a ton of links, and he's going to be okay for the hold now. He is, as you said, ahead. But remember, Zanster took that gold base. That means that he's not as far behind as you might expect him to be. He doesn't have the Baneling Nest, though, and the one thing he has to watch out for is if Snute decides to go for the counterattack before Zanster gets his own Baneling Nest, things can get very dicey very quickly.
Yeah, well, losing an Overlord is definitely not what you want to be doing right now. That's actually so expensive to replace. 1 lava, 100 minerals specifically is going to be the big deal breaker. Of course, with the gold base, it's not going to be as bad. It's actually got great saturation, fully saturated there on the gold, as well as continuously mining gas. Because what we are doing now, we are shifting the chapter into the next step, which is going to be Zergling and Baneling Wars, exactly what we saw versus Serral on this very map in Game 5.
And Snute, you know, he's just droning so heavily behind this. Gonna see what Zanster decides. Yeah, very nice. Nice micro overall for both players, I gotta say. But at this stage, Zanster is going to have 14 more links, though 16 more. I think he's trying for an attack here.
Oh, there's the Zerglings coming in from Snute for the counterattack on the gold base. Great positioning with those drones. Actually, man, that was so nicely done by Zanster, keeping that queen alive with the hold position marker on the drones, as well as isolating them around her to the nice surface area. But now, more lings in production for both Snooters. Zanster's going to start adding in a couple of more, just sprinkling a drone or two here for good measure. Massive connections. Oh my god, that is a massive blunder from the Swedish Zug. You cannot be doing mistakes like that. That is really, really decisive because now Snute starts a gold base of his own and he does have the Zugling advantage.
Yeah, well, Snute right now, he's pressuring a bit, but you gotta watch out so you don't lose too many of your Zerglings. Does he make any more banelings? Yes, he does. He's getting quite aggressive, but at the same time, Zanster does have a few lings of his own, trying to trap these queens. Not really a ton of
no energy. He's not going to be able to transfuse these. Gets queen one. Is it going to be enough to kill the other queen as well? Banelings come on down here as Snute tries to react. Perhaps go for the 2-for-2 trade. Oh, it's so close, so even, so scrappy.
Yeah, very scrappy trades back and forward, but that's Ling Bane for you. And let's see here, it looks like Snute did lose 2 queens to this. As
3 already, actually.
Yeah, so 1 in the other game and then 2 additional ones here. But of course, we have to remember, Snute has kept his cool. He's been droning really heavily behind this. So Zanster has a timer on him because that gold base from Snute is now finishing up. If he lets Snute get away with this drone lead, there's no real conceivable way that Zanster is really going to be able to pull himself back in this game.
This is looking so hard. The Banelings are going to be finishing up now to the northern side, but Snute still has a lot of Banelings of his own to work with. Actually has a Baneling advantage. Goes for a bit of a scrappy trade there, but still, Zanster, he's not taking a third base behind this. He's dropping down, he's just making more lings. Snute, on the other hand, he is going for the Roach Warren. And he is just looking so good in this game right now. 38 drones to 22, supply 61 to 42 as well. It's not looking good for Zanster.
It isn't, and right now, Snute is clever enough. We spoke about this earlier as well, that when you are ahead enough in a game like this, his 38 works against 22, it's enough to just make constant units, and these roaches are so vital for Snute. If he just constantly makes roaches, there's no way Zanster's gonna break him. Now we have to remember, Apotheosis is a really big map. Roaches can't really counterattack, but right now Snute only needs to survive.
I mean, he's been doing a really good job at exactly that. Oh, some all right connections, I guess, but Snute, again, is going to be taking down these Zerglings in the middle of the map. He's got more units streaming across, and Zanster, again, forced to hightail it out of there. He's being forced up into a corner, which is his gold base. He's now got a third base on the way, which in his natural, but the gold base is going to be completely undefended. The queen needs to get into a good position. The drones come off the lines, and they start drilling away as more lings stream across the map right now here. At the same time, counter-attacking the gold base. 11 drones going down. Zanster with a perfect move back into this, but the roaches are already on the field, and Snute still maintains a really good advantage. 16 drones to 27, 33 supply to 73.
Yeah, we have to remember as well, when we get into these really low drone counts, every single drone is so valuable. Now Zanster is realizing he cannot be droning anymore. He needs to defend and counterattack. He's counterattacking with all his lings, but is it enough? He's trying to get a nice wraparound. This is a good way to try to survive. Snute for a second tried to turn back there, but he's still attacking. He's not giving up just because of some counterattacking. He knows there should be very little defense here for Zanster, and he's completely right with that.
He's read it perfectly, and now we go into this gold base yet again. And he's going to bring down that queen very quickly. She's going to be forced to get out of there. The gold base has been forfeit. Drones have been pulled off the lines. Snute with such an advantage in every single department. He is going to be equalizing this. It does look like it. He's even getting some Banelings behind us. Has a Ravity for good measure as well. And Zanster, I mean, he's dead in the water right now. He's not able to do anything. This is absolutely terrible. And Alex, I think we're going to be going into game number 5.
I think so as well. It looks like Snute is going to tie things up and bring it to a final game. GG from Zanster, and we have an ace match between these two players.
The semi-finals were absolutely excellent, but we get here in the finals, game 5. This is every caster's dream to go into the final map. It doesn't get better than this.
It doesn't get better than this, indeed. We are going to go into King Sejong as the final map. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick look at the replay from the map we just had to see exactly what went wrong for Zanster.
I wouldn't actually say there were multiple things. Oh, this is actually quite late in the game. But still, a lot of the issue that I think for Zanster, that really, when it boils down to it, is the fact that he was always behind in drones. Snute this time was on point of counterattacking, and we generally, what we've seen as a bit of a trend, is that when Zanster was very aggressive, like we saw versus Cyril, for instance, is that he was always the one being aggressive. There was very little pressure on his side of the map. But Snute, on the other hand, in The difference was that Snute this time, he was being very counter-aggressive as well. So Zanster wasn't the only one just rallying units, you know, not worrying about the home front. He had to actually be very concerned about that. And that really changed the dynamic of those interactions.
Yeah, I gotta say, a very, very impressive match from both sides. I mean, Zanster had a really cool build going on right there, and I thought first they had some potential, but as we saw, great micro for Snute, as you can always expect, just as like Zanster, we always expect really high performance at all times. And in this scenario, you saw him hold positioning workers, using workers to fight. He knew he could lose a few workers, that was fine, as long as he didn't lose his combative units, you know. So he brought her down another queen, he skipped an inject for it, and he held the initial push. After that, he kept using that advantage. It's something that when you first get an advantage, you never let it go, and that's exactly what Snute did.
It is sort of, it is especially like you say, you know, where you dedicate the queen in the early game, like it is so key. Like, do I go for the inject? Or do I keep it so I start banking some energy? And then the positioning as well. Like, when he lost that first queen, I was actually really concerned there for Snute, because this was looking very scary. But he had the timings down perfectly. So the Baneling has finished up, he started getting those defensive Banelings, and then all the tools and all of the pieces sort of fell into place for him. And then from there was just an uphill struggle. But Zanster, we cannot take away from him. Great start to this series, 2-0. But now it's been equalized 2-2. I still think, though, that Zanster, if he can sort of maintain his form in this and not let these losses get to his head, he's still very well poised to perhaps take the series 3-2. Because it is much closer than we first both anticipated, I think. No, you actually said 3-2 Snute, so...
Yeah, I still have a chance
Yeah, you still have a chance. I'm out, man.
Yeah, you're fired after this.
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready for our final map of the day for Starcraft 2. We have in the top left-hand side, playing for Norway, and of course, Team Liquid. Give it up for Snute!
And his opponent down in the bottom right, in the blue, hailing from Stockholm, Sweden. He is down here in Jönköping to claim his title, to defend his honor. Considered the best Zerg in Sweden. He's up against a Titan. And after a good start, it still wasn't enough, because we find ourselves here now in game number 5 here on King Sejong Station. It is going to be Zanster.
Right, and look at this, Snute right away. He's going for it. This is King Sejong Station. Your Overlord is not there in time to definitely always see the incoming links. So now we're going to see the pool and the gas really quickly coming out here. And we have, of course, Zanster deciding to go for the hatchery and the extractor and the spawning pool. So he's going for the more greedy version, just like we saw Snute do in the previous game. So we're kind of turning the tables on this one. But look at this, Snute deciding to, instead of going for speed, he's going for the early Baneling nest for that, you know, the Bane all-in.
So two things. The first initial wave of attack is going to be a little weaker, and it's going to be a little later. This is going to give Zanster a couple of very valuable seconds to perhaps try to identify what's going on. However, once the punch comes in, the force is going to be tenfold. So Zanster now, he needs to make sure that he knows how to defend this perfectly. There is no room for any sort of error, no small mistakes, nothing in terms of the positioning or anything. It needs to be cookie cutter perfect.
It has to be, and right now Snute putting on pressure to that natural already. He needs to start morphing those Banelings. Where are they? There we are. He's morphing the first two. He's hiding them away, of course. He doesn't want to show them or let them be sniped away. But right away, Zanster, 2 spine cores in a very nice position. And look at the positioning of his spawning pool. That's so key in holding this, because you can hold position, a drone or a queen there to make sure the Banelings don't get around. But that natural is falling so quickly. Right now, Snute is expanding behind this, and he's going to get the natural. What a great start for Snute.
Oh, yeah, this is really good. This is exactly what he set out to do. The Banelings, they make it impossible for Zanster to take a good engagement. Connect with one of those, killing most of those broodlings. So not the best value trade, because he's not trading lava for Banelings, but still, that's a really good pickoff, because now behind this, Snute just goes ahead, takes his own expansion, and now he's in a really good spot, because he's also got the tech advantage.
Indeed, and right now we do see Snute trying to go into his speed here. Same thing for Zanster. Trying right now to get aggressive without one Baneling. It does get picked off, and there's no way to contest this base anymore. Snute right now needs to start going back home. And they are very equal in terms of drones, but Snute will have the advantage in terms of the hatchery timing.
Yeah, the economy is the big thing now to sort of focus on. And can Zanster do anything to equalize things? Can he put on enough pressure, kill enough of the economy for Snute, perhaps find himself with a tech advantage to take himself back into the pace of the game? Well, because right now, I mean, he's starting to lose links, and that means his map control is going to be gone.
Indeed. I love this epic music to the finals as well, really bringing things to its nice little end, you know, this dramaturgical end. But, you know, right now, Zanster trying to get away with a quick third base. Is Snute going to try to punish this or not? That's the question. He doesn't really have the resources to do that just yet. We have a lot of links for Zanster in defense. What is Snute's response, do you think?
Well, he's making more links, as well as 2 banelings being more... These are defensively, of course, but no, it's going to be a third base of his own. He could actually go for some pressure. He does have the potential, but Zanster is going to be moving out with links of his own. If he can find this third base, perhaps get a cancel. That is going to be a great way to get back into the... Have to dodge the banelings, though. That is going to be the tough thing right now.
Indeed, and well, Zanster right now, he's gathering his links to the top right-hand side. Snute doesn't realize there's counter-attacking potential, and there we go, an unguarded base. Banelings trying to get there in time. I don't think they are going to be able to, though. And there we are, forcing the cancel. A bit of a premature cancel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he... No. He thought it was another baneling going down there to the single Zergling, but oh well, counter pressure coming in from Snute as Lings make their way into the natural. There are no banelings to defend. Now they come in, the Queens pull off the line, so the third base for is going to stay alive. Some of these banelings now find the connections, but a couple of these drones very low on HP. And Zanster finds 2 for his troubles, gets out of there, whereas Snute still maintains a drone advantage. These are some great moves from the Swedish Zerg.
Definitely, and well, right now Snute is up 8 workers. Zanster's trying to punish this somehow, but Snute really cleverly is using those queens to defend this third base, and I love the fact that he's just putting on a very defensive posture and realizing that he does have a sizable advantage.
Oh, he's just going to walk these banelings up into the natural. He's going to try to finish the job on these wounded drones. Brings down so many of them into the red. 1 more banelings is all it takes. Great hit there from Snute as he gets a massive connection with the defensive baneling. Zanster, 14 more lings on the way. He's not going to be looking to drone right now. There we are, finally start sprinkling in a couple, but he needs to get this space saturated. He also, however, needs to worry about any sort of impending counterattacks. But I think one of the big things to watch here for now, Alex, as we are starting to leave the early game, is who goes for the lair first.
Definitely. And right now, the Roach one is going to be for Snute. So that means that he's going to try for this macro setup. He's going to try to have this very solid, reliable defense. That means that he can't just mess up with 1 click of a button. Now, we've got to see, though, a lot of links coming in here, and a lot of, drones in danger, really, yeah.
Well, he doesn't find a single one, actually. Great control again, showcased from Snute. As he does come into the main base, at least gets the scouts, sees the Roach Warren, so that is going to be some very good information to work with. As Baneling comes on in, could have been so scary. 3 more drones fall as the drone line, the drone count has been equalized.
It has, and right now Zanster's trying to get back into his own Roaches. So we might even move into the Roach Wars, but Snute is keeping his lead still. Although we did see 3 drones go down, he still is keeping this, what is going to be about 5-7 drone lead or something. And, you know, that's enough for someone like Snute to really make sure he can close out the game in the end.
Bit of a Zergling, Baneling rave party going on right now.
It does sound like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, truly.
I hope no one hits us with those fireworks.
That'd be quite bad, but small contingent of Lings going to be shifting up towards the northern side. Watch that, Baneling boys, told you it's a rave.
Indeed, and well, he's trying to get around here. He's looking for those counterattacks towards the workers. Gets 1. It's not really enough to justify these kinds of attacks, but we have to realize he's keeping Snute defensive. That's what he's looking for. Right now, though, Zanster hasn't been making any more army, so he's in a very peculiar position because he can start making Roaches, but he doesn't have any yet. So if Snute started pushing across and just theoretically made a ton of links, you would start to see Zanster having a hard time defending.
Yeah, well, Zanster's going for the lair right now, and Snute is going to go into that spy attack. These are the deviations between both of our players. This is where the fine print is going to be written. So now we'll have to see how this is going to be colliding. +1 attack on the way right now for Zanster. Whereas Snute, on the other hand, he's still just droning. He didn't commit all too much into the into the Roach count.
And well, I gotta say, very clever here from Snute, showing his Roaches and kind of showing it because he knows Zanster's going to have these overlords in position. So kind of showing the roaches and saying, well, I got roaches, I'm pushing out, you better make roaches of your own. And meanwhile, he's making his own spine crawler, he's getting these mutas more and more ready, he's saving up a lot of gas as well. He's up to 600 gas, and when this fire is finished, he's going to have more than 10 mutas starting to come out.
This is going to be really hard for Zanster to actually react efficiently to. Fourth base also going down here, by the way, for Snute. So he's just setting everything up perfectly for the, as we bounce in to the further lengths of the game. As the tech for Zanster is still very, very limited if we compare it to that of his opponent. He doesn't have a Hydra Den, he's working with a Roach Warren, and that's basically it. Like, how do I counter this? Burrow starts, this could be cool, but it's still so difficult, you know, to come back into this, though, when you're so far behind in terms of tech. These mutas now on the way. 12 started for Snute.
Yeah, and 12 is a great number to start things off with. We have to realize there's nothing to shoot up except for queens for Zanster right now. He does, though, have great creep connection forwards towards his fourth base. So defending them with queens isn't going to be the hardest of things if you start making queens after you see the mutas. But you have to get those spore crawlers out ASAP, because the mutas are coming out right now. They're not stopping for any overlords or anything. They want to go straight for the army here of Zanster, and he's getting his army out. You need to pull back, Zanster. I don't think you want to attack into this, because Snute found him way too early. He's already losing a lot of roaches.
This is so intelligent from Snute that he wanted to go straight for the army, break down the supply lines.
Or maybe,
because he's going to be able to have a... I mean, doesn't he have a roach advantage on the ground?
That's a lot of roaches, though.
That is a lot of roaches. One queen, one shot, two queen. And that is going to be really hurting the macro capability of Snute, as he, again, is sending more units down to try to stem the tide. Another queen perhaps getting one shot. No, walks straight up into the natural. He's going to bypass that, shift up into the main. It does look like it. Burrows, and there is no detection.
Yeah.
Snute, he needs to make an oversteer. Starts morphing 2 right away. He's got tunneling claws started, but this is a great move. Again, another counterattack into the fourth base. More roaches heading towards the third as well. And now we can on Burrows send these up, start splitting them off. This is so brilliant by Zanster. We were so worried for him in terms of tech. One shot's another queen. The damage is immense.
Yeah, and he should be looking towards his fire, because those mutas are going into the natural to try to save his drones. But look at this, Zanster, 14, 16, 17 drones going down, and Zanster still putting on a lot of pressure towards his opponent. Realize he's losing a lot of roaches, yes, but he's dealt so much economic damage right now. He's 20 workers ahead. He's at 76 workers on 4 bases. This is looking brilliant for the Swedish player. Once again, burrowing. Where are the overseers? That's the first one, but I think it might be slightly too late for Snute.
Oh man, he has lost so many drones. 35 have fallen, and there is only one option left if you're Snute. You have to all in. You have no other option. If you give Zanster another minute in this game, you're dead. He has to go finish the game, Alex. There's no other option.
Fourth base goes down as well. Zanster 4 base economy on what is it now? 73 workers against 40 of Snute. And we have to realize the armies are very similar as well. The only thing missing right now for Zanster is anything that can shoot up, and he's making lots and lots of Hydras. Snute right now getting aggressive. There's only one spore, and he can get killed really quickly. Nice microwave for Snute, saving that first muta, and he gets every single spore. Now Zanster can get damage going, and he right away brings his overseer as well. He's going to make sure he gets every single drone, and now he's killing off Hydras. Is this Snute's chance? He cannot be losing these mutas.
He's getting right on top of them. Every Hydralisk has fallen. There are only queens to defend right now. Nothing shooting up for Zanster. This is a disaster. The anti-air was there for a moment, but it was slipped away, and now the roaches go on another ground counterattack. He does decide to burrow at the last moment, but the fourth base has been ravaged. Snute's economy still in shambles. 52 drones to 71 as this counterattack for Zanster, I don't think it's going to be able to achieve all too much. Queens in support, Mutalisks coming in as well, and they also have the detection. The Mutaflock makes their way back home on the defense, but still, the game right now still fairly even. Zanster, however, is lacking map control and struggling to wrestle it out of the hands of Snute.
We have to realize as well, there's virtually nothing on the ground for Zanster that is at home. He brought his roaches out into the field, and that might be a huge mistake right now, because he's losing Hydras, and they are needed to deal with the mutas. Now, it seems like he's going to be able to hold against the roaches finally, but every single Hydra goes down. And now Snute, once again, with those mutas, I would like him to make even more, but he's making roaches behind this. He's looking to trade away as much as he can on the ground, in the air for the ground, and then just go for the counter with the roaches. And he's getting the spore cores once again. He's getting this fourth base, and this is such a great way to come back in this game.
Snute, his experience shining through, more drones falling, and now the drone count is not too different, 57 to 50, another great move here from Zanster to try to delay things, but Snute is on top of everything. The creep spread is really helping him here as he is re-establishing his fourth place. Zanster loses the fourth place of his own. Now he's going to be able to push away the ground forces, and again, he's got more strike units on the flanks, always hitting left and right. It is so back and forth, but these mutas are growing in number further, Alex. Snute is only committing all of his gas into Mutalisks.
Yeah, we have to realize the Hydras, especially now in this patch, are amazing against Mutas if you get enough of them. But right now, Snute is keeping Zanster from getting that critical mass. It looked like Zanster had an opportunity to, bring Snute to his knees to really just win this entire series and by that the tournament. But Snute has done everything in his might to bring himself back. Right now, we see Zanster on 3 bases, just now getting his fourth. The fourth is done for Snute again. As you said before, Snute has tied up in terms of workers. He's ahead in army, and he right now has a commanding amount of mutas just roaming around the entire map. And whereas Zanster isn't with his Hydras, you can see the mutas just come in, kill Spore Caller, and just wreak havoc in terms of economic damage.
The amount of resources and troops you need to commit for the anti-air defense is absolutely astonishing here. And Zanster, I mean, he's had enough of it. Perhaps, no, he's not going to go for the committed attack just yet.
Oh, I love this.
Oh, some great moves here from Snute again. It is looking so dire for the Swede, but another brilliant counterattack. Zanster, none of these guys giving up, man.
Yeah.
They are so neck and neck with one.
We spoke about this on Frost as well. Both players are those kind of players. They look at every single detail. Even though Zanster right now is facing some hardships, he's not going to give up just yet. And look at this. He's trying to bring every single piece of the puzzle together here. He's trying to attack with everything he can shoot up, but it's not enough. We have all these roaches on the low ground. Snute is just bringing down the hammer onto Zanster, and it's too much. Good game, well played, and congrats from Zanster. Snute is going to take the final game.
He is your champion. The series that went the distance. We ended up after 2-0 advantage in the initial start of the series. We landed on game 5, and the Norwegian takes it home in grand fashion. Absolutely stellar display of how to play ZVZ, and there he is, your champion.
Indeed, amazing plays by Jens here, and I do believe also that, yeah, of course, he's going to thank Zanster for a fantastic match. I have to say, what an amazing series.
Yeah. No,
so back and forth.
No, Alex, it definitely went the distance. It was absolutely brilliant. But here we go, guys, bringing him up on the main stage together with Shiva. We're going to leave it over to our host.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Snute. What a series. You really like giving people a run for their money here.
Yeah, that was so close. It could have gone either way in the last game. Like, that's one of the most intense games I played in a long time.
Well, congratulations. I'm gonna give you this check. We're gonna have a winner's interview in about 30 seconds. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more talks from the winner, Snute here. And welcome back here to the Nordic Championships. It is decided we have ourselves a winner. It is Snute, he is your winner for the Starcraft 2 Nordic Championship. Snute, congratulations once again. I mean, watching that series, the first 2 games didn't look great for you. What changed it all around? What turned it around?
That's tough to tell. Like, when you're down 0-2, it feels really bad.
Yeah.
Some people say that I have like a weak mindset when it comes to competition, but I just decided to believe in my skills as usual. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it works. So I just try to focus on playing my very best. I tried to forget the 2 first games, and I knew that if I tried to play as straight up as possible, then maybe I would win, and it worked out.
Definitely worked out.
Yeah, so I have a question. It's just regarding this last game. It was so explosive, so action-packed. Probably one of the best DBZs I've seen for a very long time. And you said it yourself, really intense.
Yeah.
When he came in with these burrowed roaches, he was all over the place. He was tearing your economy apart. How do you get yourself back from that sort of, like, what decisions were you making in sequence there to sort of like, okay, this is the current situation and I need to set up these win conditions and achieve them. Like, how do you do that in such a situation?
Yeah, so first you need to decide if you're going to defend or if you're going to go completely all in on the counteroffensive, because you have the mutas and roaches don't shoot up. But if spores are in play, then you will have a trouble if you do counter all in. And I decided that after I took such a decent fight to begin with the mutas, then I thought that I had an army lead, and I decided that it was the safest move to keep defending, and then rather try to use my big muta ball to actually achieve something with that later. It's a bit more of a conservative decision, but you just gotta choose one of those 2 options, and from there you obviously have to defend the tunneling claw roaches, which is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It's so tough to keep track of all of them and split your army up perfectly. And so yeah, I just got offload speed and tried to put my overseer so I could see his roaches, and then just try to snipe them and figure out where I should use my mutas and where I should use my roaches. And then eventually I noticed that he didn't have that many hydras, and that's when I decided to go for the counterattack, where I sniped his hydras and then used my muta clouds.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really sick.
Thank you.
So you talk about the final game as well, Kingston Station. When was the point when you just realized I did it? When you just started relaxing finally?
Definitely when the Ravager Biles hit the Hydralisks. That's when I knew that there would be no way back. And I felt gradually more confident as the Muta ball achieved more and more things. So that was probably the point. I wasn't sure that I was going to win until the very last fight, to be honest.
Well, you did, and it was indeed a very exciting match. I don't know if you also noticed, I mean, the whole hall was cheering on for you. It was maybe kind of loud. I know you're wearing like big headsets, and you said earlier that it's very comfortable and there's a lot of white noise, so it's very good that you don't hear anything. Yeah. But you heard those explosions.
I heard some weird explosions and a lot of bass, and I thought perhaps I should pause this game or something. But yeah. I decided to just keep going, even if the entire booth was shaking, basically. I just said to myself, you've been to LANs before, so let's do this.
You know how it goes. It was a very exciting match. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
That concludes our StarCraft 2 portion for the day. Of course, massive thanks to our sponsors, Viafree and Metro, that made this all possible, and made it possible for Snute here to take home 3,000 euros. So that is great as well. We still have one last replay also to show you. So let's first take a look at that, and we can see how the guys can take it through. And actually, let's have it actually different. Let's have you guys watch that replay while we get ready for some Hearthstone. So thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned in for Hearthstone action, and we'll be right back.